on.
Yes. Now we're editing. Okay, so is this the real deal now, Brittany? Well, thanks for coming and helping us out with our presentation tonight. How did you happen to hear about our...
Actually, as a DU student, an international GSIS student, happened to come in and began asking me questions, and then informed me that the movie was playing that night. And,
That's fortuitous.
yes, exactly.
Now, in retrospect, it seems like a big oversight that we didn't have a flyer here just a block away.
Right. Well, I've rectified that. I bought the movie, so.
Oh, you did? Oh, great. So good. This did work out more of a longer-term benefit than just the movie night itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how did you think that went? The presentation for the movie and the description?
Well, I was actually quite impressed. One, that you all found out about it and decided to kind of go forward with it. And I was impressed with the conversation afterwards. It's kind of funny right now because the coffee market has gone through such a dramatic change in the last 6 months. It's surprising to me that something that we've been dealing with for 20 years, we're now in this kind of sudden change with coffee prices. And I was just speaking with some of our producing partners on how that's going to affect on their end. And clearly, increased prices is quite a positive impact in the coffee world. So we're hoping that these kind of things can kind of further along the projects that have been started in these areas. Because when you think, I think actually in the movie it talks about the Cafe Femenino premium is only 2 cents per pound. So when you kind of calculate that, it's not a lot of area. And if you ever visited these areas, these are deeply impoverished areas, and so that kind of influx of capital, especially into a cooperative environment, can have just tremendous impacts.
Do you feel that the parallels between the issues of women's empowerment here in Denver vis-a-vis the Women's Bean Project and Cafe Femenino and the beans in Peru, were those consistent, or were those a tortured or difficult construction?
Well, I think actually it's I think it's good to kind of parallel those two, because I think here in the States we have a tendency to underappreciate these kind of issues. So particularly like in the case of Women's Bean Project and the types of people in there, especially in our current so to say political climate, where it's kind of a blame the victim type of environment, where it's helpful to kind of step out of your own environment and look at an area that's even more acute to recognize the importance of these kind of programs had within our own community. That there is a shared camaraderie, right? There is a shared purpose there, so that while women's rights are even far more. Now I'm losing a bunch of words. They're just all kind of flying now. Women's rights are far more underdeveloped in these areas. It does kind of expose some of the real issues that are even current in our own society that we tend to kind of forget exist. I think, especially like in a case where we are, say, using DU in our own neighborhood, something that's occurring, say, at 5 Points or just out in the neighborhood seems so far away. So I guess the great advantage of this is when you take in a completely foreign country and a product that you kind of hold dear, and yet you're able to use that to illustrate some of these deficiencies that are occurring even locally. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I thought that was really nice. So it was kind of nice to see the Women's Bean Project, and then to turn out that it's Cafe Femenino, which is a brand new, which is a brand new program, and not alone anymore. In fact, we did, while we have 3 Cafe Femenino coffees, the coffee from Rwanda is kind of you don't want to call it a copycat, but it's inspired by the same program. So it's also an all-women's cooperative. So this is kind of spreading very quickly through these coffee growing areas.
Good. And are you confident as a coffee buyer, distributor, that the money is making its way from the sellers to women's groups. And,
Yeah, again, so this is
families.
this is the advantage of how the whole program came about, in that it all came about because of the fair trade program, and that transparency is what allowed for this program to exist. So it wasn't as if we had to create a whole new program. In fact, we didn't create it at all. This was something that the producers themselves thought of, and it pushed it up. And not until I think it was probably about midway through the film before he even met Gay, Garth's wife, when she was the one who kind of, oh, this is what we have to do. At that point, it was an initiative being pushed forward. So as far as the money kind of getting to cooperatives, that's really easy to track. And it's because of the fair trade transparency that allows us to track that kind of stuff.
Good. Going forward, two things. First, what can we do on the local level to support these sort of issues in your eyes in the 5 points in Denver community, and also on a more global basis, using the Cafe Femenino?
That's a big question. I think the thing is, this ultimately is, it's something that we as consumers have to recognize, that when we purchase a product, we are complicit in its production, whether we are conscious of that or not. And most, the way that kind of the corporate model is designed now is to kind of try to hide that product's production. And it's kind of like the invisible hand turns a blind eye. I think that we as consumers have to recognize that it is in fact our responsibility to make an effort to understand where that product is coming through and how our decisions impact the world around us. I think we have come through this last 30 years plus of being a consuming nation that doesn't recognize its own impact, and in fact fights that kind of thing. I mean, literally we're on that other end. I think we've had a lot of blowback on those kind of things, especially as we're coming out of the SUV craze, the Hummers, those kind of things. And when we like to buy products that express our identity. We've been taught that that's what it's all about. That when we buy something that we're somehow expressing our identity, I think we need to kind of get out of that and recognize that it's not just our own identity, that we are part of a shared network. And when we consume something, we are part of that. We are consuming that entire value chain. So the onus really is on us. Now, I've been a coffee roaster for 20 years, and admittedly, I too had to kind of go through the whole education process. And so when I first started doing my coffee trips to Origin, it didn't take that much of a realization to kind of recognize that I was part of this chain, and I'm partly responsible for this. And whether or not I can make my customers aware of this, I still have a responsibility. So it's not just the responsibility of individual consumers, but roasters, everybody on a whole value chain going up. It's almost like at a certain point, we have to recognize we're all in this together. Most cooperatives are cooperatives because they are cooperatives out of survival. Certainly, in our own economy, we're in a better position. But I think it's kind of a false position to think that just because things are good now, that they're always going to be good.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thanks.
Great.
Appreciate
Thank you.
all with our efforts.